Yes, hello everybody. How are you? I've had so many concerns about errors, and I actually would like to share with you today about errors. We have errors that actually happen in the trial balance. We have those errors that are reflected or are detected by the trial balance, and there are those errors that are not detected by the trial balance. For example, you have an error of omission. If you really avoid or you completely forget about a transaction and it's not recorded anywhere, this error still will not be detected by the trial balance simply because this information is not entered in any account. There is another error called error of original entry. For example, if I receive 2 million and I by error record, let me say 200,000, it implies this error will not be reflected because I will consistently keep on taking the 200,000 instead of the 2 million. Therefore, this error will not be reflected. Another error I would think of is error of duplication. This is common with the online software actually. Actually, not even online only, but software, because you record something and you save. And if you double save, this information you also duplicate in the system. So, if this error is carried on consistently, still the trial balance will not reflect this error. Another error is error of complete reversal. You were supposed to debit, but you credited, but you carried on that mistake consistently. So that is an error of complete reversal, and this error will not be reflected in the trial balance. Actually, accountants, be careful, and bookkeepers, you may make errors, but the trial balance may not tell us such errors. That's why you have to be keen at some point. Another error would be error of principle. Error of principle comes in where the accounting principle has not been honored. For example, you pay, let me say you made repairs for a building, maybe you are painting it, and this is an expense in nature. When you look at this is a revenue expense, not a capital expense. So if you record this information or this cost to your buildings as the asset, this is an error of principle, because they are supposed to be debited. If it was an expense for repair and maintenance, you would have debited, and you also debited in your account for the assets, for example buildings. This error will not be reflected, but it is an error because it is expense, not capital in nature. Therefore, such errors will not be reflected. That is an error of principle. We have an error of commission where you receive money from me. Let me say you had receivables from Harriet and Harris, and you receive money from Harriet, but you instead credit Harris. This is an error where you've recorded on the right account in form of account type, but in the wrong person or wrong customer. It is Harris who paid, but you record Harriet, or it was Harriet who paid, but you record to Harris's account. Those are errors of commission. It will not be reflected because you're recording on the right side, but you mark you on the wrong person. So we have what we call compensating errors. These are errors that are equal in magnitude. For example, I made an error of 200,000, and in the future or at some point I also make another error of the same amount and the opposite side. It implies this error will automatically balance. So for example, I made an error of 200,000 as money coming in, and I also make another error of 200,000 of money leaving. It implies this error will actually countersign, will balance, but the fact is it is an error. Let's talk about errors that are detected by the trial balance. For example, arithmetic errors. If you wrongly add, for example, you were adding, like you had so many digits to add and you make a mistake, maybe you miss out one of the digits, it implies this information will not balance. The trial balance will not balance, and this error is detected by the TB. Then we have an error like unbalanced entry. Remember the Bacabonova accounting double entry. For every double debit entry, there must be an equal and corresponding credit entry. If you make an entry on the debit side and there is no an equal and corresponding credit entry, in the appropriate account, it means trial balance will not balance. That error will be easily detected by the trial balance. Another error is transposed numbers. This is common when you're doing something, maybe you're on a rush. You will find out that instead of writing 2,500 shillings, you wrote 5,200 shillings. And this is an error where digits have been interchanged. Automatically, the trial balance will show you, will show you that it's not balancing simply because of such an error. Another area I would like us to think about is the proposed solutions. Okay, having known all that, what should I do as a bookkeeper? What can an accountant do? One, let's make use of accounting software like QuickBooks Online. This software will let you know that guess what, you didn't complete double entry. Hey, wait, this figure doesn't match this. If you're entering it, it will tell you this information is not matching. So this will help us minimize some errors. Another thing is to have an audit trail. We usually go through, and actually this is possible very clear with the accounting software, because every software will have that area which have all the information of who logged in, what was this person doing, what has happened. So when you go to such an area, you'll find out that errors that are made are easily identified at that level. We shall also have to reconcile. We need to do a bank reconciliation and account reconciliation. Whenever you reconcile, for example, you get the trade receivables control account, trade payables control account, and you reconcile per client, you'll find out that some errors that were made at that point can be highlighted, can be identified, and later on solved. Lastly, I would advise to use stronger internal controls. Remember, whenever your internal controls are weak, errors can be made on a daily basis. It's true, we can't avoid errors 100%, but we can avoid it to a certain standard. Therefore, if you strengthen your internal controls, it will help us, first of all, to minimize errors, but again, it will enable us to minimize on the fraud. You never know whether it was an error or intended fraud. So when you strengthen your internal controls, if you do what we call segmentation or separation of duties, segregation of duties, and you know the person who initiates is different from the person who approves, and is different from the person who processes, and is still different from the person who does the custody. This will help us follow up, and this will help us minimize some errors to some extent. I've made this video simply because of your so many inquiries about errors. When I dropped a video about bank reconciliation, so many came up and asked me, bank reconciliation is okay, but we didn't take us through errors. That's why I've made this video. Thank you so much. Next time we shall drop another video about a different item as per your requests. Thank you. It's Jovia from Jovia Digital Consultants.